What if everything you thought about attraction was wrong? Think about it. How many men waste years chasing women, obsessing over their looks, memorizing the perfect pickup lines, or trying to fake confidence? They grind in the gym, they buy expensive watches, they follow every dating coach on the internet, and yet, they still struggle. Because deep down, they're asking the wrong question. They ask, how do I make her like me? When the real question is, how do I become someone who doesn't need to be liked? The irony, the moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you no longer care about impressing people, is the moment they start noticing you. But that's a hard pill to swallow. It means letting go of every comforting lie you've been told. It means accepting that attraction isn't about trying harder. It's not about looking perfect. It's not about acting a certain way to win approval. It's about who you are at your core. Most men will never figure this out. They'll keep chasing, keep proving, keep thinking they need more money, more muscle, more tricks, and in doing so, they'll repel the very things they desire. But the men who understand this one fundamental truth, they move differently, they speak differently, they don't try to impress, because they don't need to. And that's what makes them magnetic. So today, we're going to break down the brutal truth about attraction, why most men never unlock it, and how you can. Because once you do, everything changes. Women will notice you without you saying a word. People will feel your presence when you walk into a room, and you'll finally stop chasing, because you'll realize you never had to in the first place. This is the truth they never told you, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's begin. 1. The man who owns the room without saying a word. Picture this. You're at a crowded event. Dozens of people chatting, moving, trying to impress. Then, he walks in. He doesn't say a word, doesn't make a grand entrance, doesn't demand attention. And yet, every head turns. Not because he's the best dressed, not because he's the loudest, but because he carries himself in a way that makes people feel his presence. He's not in a rush. He's not scanning the room for approval. He's simply there, completely at ease, fully in control of himself, and that alone makes him stand out. Most men struggle with this. Some try too hard, talking too much, cracking forced jokes, over-explaining themselves, hoping someone will notice them. They think attraction is about convincing people they're interesting. Others fade into the background, hunched over, afraid to make eye contact, playing it safe because they don't want to draw attention. But the truth is, the men who naturally own a room don't need to try. They don't seek attention, it comes to them. Because their presence speaks louder than words. So how do you develop this kind of presence? 1. Master the art of stillness. Nervous energy is repellent, fidgeting, constantly shifting, checking your phone. These are signs of insecurity. The most magnetic men are calm. Their movements are slow and deliberate. They don't react impulsively to every little thing. Try this. Next time you enter a room, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, observe, move deliberately. The more comfortable you are in your own skin, the more people will feel it. 2. Use eye contact to create instant respect. Most men make two mistakes. They either avoid eye contact, signaling weakness, or they stare too intensely, making others uncomfortable. The key is relaxed intensity, holding eye contact just long enough to create intrigue, then breaking it naturally. It signals confidence without aggression. And when you speak to someone, look them in the eye, not in a confrontational way, but in a way that says, I see you, and I am completely at ease in this moment. 3. Own your space like you belong there. Watch a man who commands respect, and you'll notice one thing: he never shrinks himself. He doesn't cross his arms defensively. He doesn't shift around nervously. He takes up space, not in an arrogant way, but in a way that says, I belong here. When you walk into a room, don't rush, don't slouch, move with purpose. Let your body language show that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Here's the secret: the men who do this don't need to say much. They don't try to fill silence just to be heard. They don't compete for attention. And yet, when they do speak, people listen, because their words aren't coming from a place of needing validation. They come from a place of certainty. That's the difference. When you master stillness, eye contact, and presence, you won't have to seek attention, because attention will find you. 2. The man who can walk away holds all the power. Power is not about control, it's about choice. Imagine a man who never begs for attention, never chases, never compromises his self-respect just to keep someone around. A man who can walk away from anything, or anyone, without hesitation. That man holds an undeniable power. And yet, most men do the opposite. They cling, they overcompensate, they live in fear, fear of losing a woman's interest, fear of rejection, fear of being alone. They check their phone every 5 minutes, waiting for a reply. They say yes when they want to say no. They sacrifice their own standards just to be accepted. And in doing so, they destroy their own value. But here's the truth: the moment you show that you need someone, they lose interest. Scarcity breeds desire. When something is too available, it's taken for granted. But when something is rare, when it's not guaranteed, that's when people chase it. Think about it. Would people line up for an event if anyone could walk in at any time? No. Would collectors pay millions for a watch that's mass-produced? No. And would a woman truly value a man who's always waiting, always ready, always available? No. Because what's too easy to get is easy to ignore. The men who command attention aren't the ones trying to win it. They don't panic when someone pulls away. They don't double text in desperation. They don't sell themselves short for the sake of keeping someone interested. Instead, they operate from abundance. They know that their value isn't defined by external validation. If someone walks away, fine. If an opportunity doesn't work out, so be it. They don't hold on to things that don't align with their self-respect. And that mindset, that detachment from neediness, makes them irresistible. Ask yourself, if you had to walk away from a situation that no longer served you, could you do it? Do you make choices from confidence, or from fear? If you lost everything today, your job, your relationship, your social status, would you still know your worth? Because here's the reality: if you can't walk away, you're not in control. And the moment people sense that you're willing to leave, without drama, without begging, without second-guessing, that's when they start chasing you. That's when you become the prize. And that's when you'll never have to chase again. 3. The man who creates unspoken desire. Attraction isn't about what you say, it's about what they feel in your presence. Most men think they need the perfect words. They memorize pickup lines, craft clever responses, and search for the right thing to say. But have you ever seen a man who says very little, yet somehow people hang on to his every move? That's because true attraction isn't built through words. It's built through energy, through tension, through the silent pull that makes people want to be closer to you, even if they can't explain why. Most men kill attraction before it even begins. They overshare, they rush to fill silence, they try too hard to be funny or charismatic, thinking that if they just say the right things, people will like them. But here's the truth: the strongest form of desire isn't created through talking, it's created through unspoken tension. Think of the most captivating movie scenes. It's never the loudest moments that pull you in. It's the ones where the characters lock eyes, where you can feel the weight of what's left unsaid. That's the kind of energy that makes people crave your presence. So how do you create this kind of attraction? 1. Master the pause. Most men rush to speak. The second there's silence, they feel the need to fill it. But the most powerful men control the pace of conversation. When someone asks you a question, pause. Let the silence linger just a second longer than expected. It forces the other person to lean in. It builds intrigue. It makes them wonder, what is he thinking? The pause is where tension lives. And tension is the foundation of attraction. 2. Slow everything down. Your words, your movements, your reactions. Most men fidget. They move too fast. They talk too quickly. Their energy scattered, signaling nervousness. But the man who slows everything down creates a different effect. He moves deliberately. He speaks in a way that makes people stop and listen. He doesn't rush, because he's in control of the moment. And when a man radiates control, people feel it. 3. Create contrast. Keep them guessing. Attraction thrives in unpredictability. When people can predict your every move, they lose interest. But when you create contrast, you become magnetic. One moment, you're playful. The next, you're serious. You challenge them, but also make them feel understood. You give attention, but you're never too available. People become hooked on what they don't fully understand. When they can't figure you out completely, they want more. The secret to attraction lies in the space between moments. It's not about overwhelming someone with words or trying to impress them. It's about the way you make them feel when nothing is being said. It's in the held gaze, the slight smirk before you respond, the way you move with unshakable confidence. The more you master this, the less effort you need to attract people. Because they won't be drawn to your words. They'll be drawn to you. 4. The man who makes others feel something deep. Most men are forgotten the moment they walk away. Not because they're unattractive, not because they're unworthy, but because they never leave an impact. They blend in, they talk, but they don't say anything meaningful. They go through the motions of social interaction, but nothing about them lingers in the mind of others. And that's the difference between being noticed and being unforgettable. If you want to be truly magnetic, you need to do one thing: make people feel. Think about the most captivating people you've ever met. The ones who left an imprint on your mind. They weren't necessarily the loudest. They weren't the ones who tried the hardest. But they had a way of making you feel alive. Maybe they challenged you, maybe they inspired you, maybe they said something so raw and real that it stuck with you for days. They didn't just exist, they impacted you. And that's the kind of presence that makes a man truly unforgettable. So how do you create this deep, undeniable impact? 1. Speak with depth. Make every word count. Most people talk just to fill space. They say what's expected. They avoid silence because it makes them uncomfortable. But the men who command attention speak with purpose. They don't waste words. When they speak, there's weight behind it. They don't just say things to be liked, they say things that matter. And that makes people listen. Try this. Next time you talk to someone, don't rush to respond. Take a second, think, and then say something real. Something that actually adds value to the conversation. Watch how people lean in. 2. Be unpredictable. Challenge people's perspectives. Predictability is boring. Most conversations follow a script: small talk, polite nods, the same recycled phrases. But the men who make people feel something real, they disrupt that pattern. They challenge assumptions. They ask unexpected questions. They aren't afraid to say, "I don't think that's true," and spark a deeper discussion. Example. Instead of the usual, "So, what do you do?" ask, "What's something you've always wanted to do but never had the courage to try?" That instantly changes the energy. It makes people stop and think. And that moment, that shift in emotion, is what makes you unforgettable. 3. Show emotional range. Know when to be light and when to be intense. Some men think confidence means being stoic, never reacting, never showing emotion, but that's not confidence, that's disconnect. The most captivating men are the ones who understand contrast. They can make people laugh, but also make them think. They can be playful, but also deadly serious when the moment calls for it. Because when you show range, people feel safe with you. They know you're not just a surface-level act, you're real. Most men stay at the surface level. They have shallow conversations. They avoid anything too deep. But the ones who leave a lasting impact, they go deeper. They create moments people remember. They challenge, inspire, and awaken something inside others. And that's why they are impossible to ignore. Attraction is a byproduct of who you are. Most men are looking for a shortcut. They want a formula, some secret combination of words, actions, and techniques that will unlock attraction like a cheat code. They search endlessly, jumping from one piece of advice to another, hoping that if they just do the right things, people will finally notice them. But that's where they go wrong. Because attraction isn't something you do, it's something you are. Think about the most magnetic men in history. They didn't rely on tricks. They didn't follow scripts. They didn't wake up every morning thinking, how do I make people like me? Instead, they focused on one thing, mastering themselves. And because of that, people naturally gravitated toward them. So, what does this actually mean? It means you don't need to memorize lines. You don't need to seek approval. You don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. What you do need is to know who you are. The deeper your self-awareness, the stronger your presence. Own your presence. Walk through life with unshakable confidence, not because you're faking it, but because you've earned it. Live with deep self-respect. Set boundaries. Demand more from yourself. Never settle for less than what aligns with your values. When you master yourself, you stop chasing. You don't seek validation, you become validation. You don't try to impress, you become impressive. You don't ask for respect, you command it. And that's when attraction becomes effortless. Because people aren't drawn to what you say, or what you own, or even what you achieve. They're drawn to how you make them feel. And a man who is completely at peace within himself, a man who carries himself like he doesn't need anything from anyone, that's the man who becomes impossible to ignore. This is Stoic mastery. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay powerful, and most importantly, stay in control.